Hi, how are you?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Welcome to the latest episode of Live Free, Laugh Hard. I'm KT. I'm here with my buddy Tom.
What's happening, bro?
What's going on, bro?
I've had a week, but honestly, this episode, I've looked forward to for months.
This episode is about Patrice O'Neal. Rest in peace, King. Probably one of the funniest guys fucking ever.
Well, I think I said in the last episode that I think he's an undisputed king of comedy. And that was like big talk.
That was. Considering Steve Harvey's the king of comedy.
I know. I just picture that Steve Harvey face. I'm like, whoop. You know when somebody says the wrong thing. Like
Family Feud.
Every time on Family Feud that somebody says something, I always feel like somebody's pointing a gun at Steve Harvey, and they're like, "Say the wrong thing, N-word. Say the wrong thing," because he looks like someone has a gun trained on him at all times.
Yeah. He's like, what? Why am I here?
He should not be there.
What am I doing here?
And he was a funny guy once. He was right there with Bernie Mac.
I think Bernie Mac, off topic, I think Bernie Mac was always above Steve Harvey.
I think he was as well.
I think Bernie Mac he didn't have the wide appeal that Steve Harvey had until Bernie Mac show.
Yeah. I think I just like that they were in the same place at the same time. Like befuddles me sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I only know modern Steve Harvey. I don't know like nasty ass Steve Harvey.
Yeah, you know like BET comedy.
No, we didn't have that back home, man. The Def Jam comedy thing we did get, but it was on at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, well, BET comedy was on like 10, but it was like no one watched BET, so they got away with a lot more shit on BET at 10 p.m.
Speaking of shows that have more dead pilots than American Airlines, do you remember Tough Crowd? I'm going to segue this one in.
I do remember Tough Crowd.
I used to actually stay up on I think it aired on a Saturday night on the terrestrial TV back home, and I used to stay up to watch it. And it was a rerun at that. Like it was like a rerun of Tough Crowd, and that's how probably the first place I've seen Patrice when he absolutely made an absolute fool of everybody's favorite Kevin Hart. And picked him up, put him on his lap, and pretended he was a hand puppet. And he pissed Ralphie May off so much that Ralphie started crying. And Norton, my boy Norton.
So that was your first exposure to Patrice O'Neal?
That was my first exposure to laughing so hard you piss yourself.
I haven't had that recently.
Pat Cooper, Patrice O'Neal. Anyone out there on YouTube right now, if you kind of want, like, why is Patrice the funniest dude ever, watch him and Pat Cooper on Tough Crowd. And there's a bit about subjugating women, and then there's a bit about abortions. And they're two of my favorite things anyway, but they were hilarious. And Pat Cooper, and like, I was only thinking last night, I was like, man, if Pat Cooper's still alive amazingly, right? But if I could have, like, if I could make like a Lethal Weapon movie, like a buddy cop movie, it'd be Pat Cooper and Patrice O'Neal. It'd be like Lethal Weapon New York, and it would be so fucking funny.
So it would be like Cop Out with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan.
Cop Out, but good. Cop Out, but actually funny.
Exactly. So obviously this episode is about Patrice O'Neal, and I'm gonna let Tom take it because Tom is a huge fan. I'm a fan of Patrice O'Neal. Tom is I'm a mega Uber fan of Patrice O'Neal. So this is your show.
This is my show. So
kind of like the Cosby Show, but I kind of took it over. This is your shit. You take it. Tell me about Patrice O'Neal, your first impressions, and what made him the best of all time to you.
We've had many back and forth about comedic integrity, and I think it's important because, and I think it's important without really knowing why it's important so much to me. But I know it just personally means a lot to me. But I think with somebody like Patrice, and you look back on his career, and you say that where did he make? People say he shot himself in the foot a lot with like not playing ball with some people, but I think he was just incredibly strategic. He was a person that you'd look at and you would think doesn't, like, he's just going off the cuff, he's very freeform and stuff like that. Like, he had that comedy and business down to comedy. He understood business. He understood a lot less than he did comedy. But what he understood, he manufactured his own strategy. He was an expert strategist. I feel like I'm talking about a conqueror here, but that's what it feels like. Like, looking at Patrice on ONA, like, almost every day.
That's
right?
Opie Anthony.
Opie and Anthony. R.I.P. That show, it was amazing.
Opie, you suck. Continue.
There's actually a show on YouTube. It's called Nopey and Anthony, where they just edited Opie out, and it's a way better show. You know,
I gotta check that out now.
No, you do it because it's so good. It's unbelievably good. But yeah, so he was on ONA, and he would talk a lot. Like, this is how like I really got to know the machinations of the guy. Other than, I think he came to like household name for like a hot second before he died with the roast of Charlie Sheen, the greatest single roaster of a whole crowd of people.
See, I'm glad you said that, because I feel like with the roast and Comedy Central roast was kind of like me.
Yeah, they're always kind of shitty.
But you always had Patrice, Ross,
Jeff Ross,
yeah,
Greg Giraldo back in
Greg Giraldo. People even said, "Oh, what's her name? She's an HBO special now." I can't remember her name. Cute chick.
Chelsea Handler?
No, not Chelsea Handler.
The other one?
Yeah, I can't remember the other one, but
the one that stole the jokes. That one.
Not
the one that's pregnant right now, keeps on getting sick.
No, not
the blondie one.
Yeah, she's blonde, but not the one. I think you're talking about not whose name. I can't remember names today.
I've had a week, so
wow, I can't remember any names right now. Anyway, I'm like lost with names. Yeah. So Jeff Ross and Patrice, right? I think it really comes down to those two.
Of like the best.
Of the best. Would you? In my head, I think Ross, because obviously he's had a long career. Because
he's done it a lot.
Patrice is dead.
Yeah,
but if you put them side by side, who would you choose to roast someone? Would you pick a Patrice or a Jeff Ross?
And this isn't biasness, because I'm going to get into this point later. It would be Patrice, because take the Charlie Sheen roast as an example, right? He was last minute. They called him up in his flat in Jersey City and flew him out, and he had wrote his stuff on the plane, right? And halfway through the roast, it was after the William Shatner bit, he was like, all right, well, fuck these people. And even if you do the before the roast, when they're all walking in, when he like told to interviewers to go fuck themselves because they were being nasty and being like snide and shit like that. And
sorry, not Amy Schumer.
Oh, sorry,
not her. Okay. Not her. It popped in my head.
All right,
continue.
So there's one like young kid, I think it might have been for MTV. Patrice basically, he asked us so stupid question. Patrice was like, "Go fuck yourself," man. Walked in, but after the William Shatner bit, he changed the whole roast of what he was going to do, and stood up there and told everyone exactly how he fucking felt, almost on par. Like Patrice done that for Patrice, right? Now, if you think back to the Oscars, and I'm not talking about the slap, but the Ricky Gervais time with the Harvey Weinstein stuff, and he called everybody out. I don't think Ricky Gervais did that for himself as much as he did that as like, this is the last time I'm going to do it. Like, nobody's ever going to do it like this.
Yeah, and no one's going to hire me ever again.
Yeah, until Will Smith came along and outdone you. But it was like that, but for without the spectacle of it. Like, it's just, I'm going to kill all of these people now. I've just decided these people are just, and he annihilated everyone. And when it comes,
Nikki Glazer, that's the name. Sorry,
Glazer loves it up the butt.
There you go.
Yeah,
that was the other one.
Just said the anal girl. I would have known who you're on about.
My 80s kicked in. Nikki Glazer. As you're making like a salient point, you know, like yelling names.
Nikki Glazer.
God, continue.
Yeah. What was my point?
I think it's fucked this podcast up.
Because I decided, is it Glazer who likes it up the ass? I think it is.
I mean, a lot of her material is about sex, so I don't know, probably.
Yeah, no, because I watched her special the other day. It was actually kind of funny.
The Spider-Man thing?
All of it. It was amazing. Like, I never thought I was going to eat someone's asshole, and I bet if you told me 2 seconds before I was going to eat someone's asshole, I would have told you I would never eat someone's asshole. She was funny.
Yeah, so he changed the roast, did it for himself.
Totally did it for himself. And I think if you want like penultimate Patrice ONeal of who he is as a person, go look at that roast. Go watch that in action. Jeff Ross, like, he's a roaster. That's what he does, right? Also, I think he's in the doc. I haven't actually watched the documentary yet, and I've kind of heard mixed things because they kind of picked and choose what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like, Patrice was in prison for a long time. Well, not for a long time. He was in prison. I'm going to tell you how that happened. Anthony Cumia didn't come into it. Anthony and Patrice were amazing together. because, and I find that this is a problem with like a lot of podcasts. Not ours, we're perfect.
Yeah.
But I've been listening to, and when I do my next podcast, I'm going to bring it up because I'm so sick of people telling me how to feel about things, especially like influencers, right? You have a lot of like comedy podcasts now. Like you got like Tiger Belly, Rogan. You got Rogan has a little bit of discourse in it, but it's kind of one way more than another.
Yeah.
The best thing about Opie and Anthony, when Patrice was on it, and Anthony Cumia would have his little racist rant, right? Patrice was there to actually talk to him about it, and it went on and on and on. And they never. Sometimes they agreed, sometimes they didn't agree, but it was open discourse because you with podcasts, and I use all of the podcasts that I mentioned. Maybe not Tiger Belly because that's not about anything.
No.
It's just Bobby Lee, just being Bobby Lee. But like Compound Media, which is Anthony Cumia's kind of place where he can't be cancelled. Mm. It's Anthony and what's the Proud Guys boys guy again with the stupid mustache? Gavin McInnes.
Yeah.
It's the two of them. So I don't care what, if you're listening to this, we accept you. I don't care what part of the spectrum you're on because I'm from Europe and we don't care about those things. But like it's a vacuum. It's a political vacuum because that person agrees with that person, and then they're just attacking the left, and then you go over onto something else, and they're just attacking the right. Yeah. And it's just there's no discourse. It's just nonsense. But with Patrice was never afraid to either talk to a caller that called in, talk to Anthony about it, right? Because there was a certain amount of invulnerability when it came to Patrice. Like comedians stepping into a room was like Ben Affleck at the start of Batman vs Superman when he's just like, oh my god, because he knew, and Bill Burr said it. He's like, it was terrifying. You needed like 4 comedians to gang up on Patrice because if you had like if you wore the wrong shirt, if you had a big head, he would just like annihilate you, and he would just insult women into the bedroom as well. It's fantastic.
Well, that's my point with him too, because I have this Comedy Central special here with me, and I watch it, every so often. And you look at his comedy, how he did it, what he said, what was said. We talk about this a lot today with today's comedy and like cancel culture and PC and you can't say certain things.
Oh, yeah.
And Patrice didn't give a fuck.
No,
Patrice
he did not
say what he wanted to say.
Nobody gives.
Which I think played into him maybe not being as big as he should have been because he was going to say what he said. He wasn't going to sugarcoat it. He wasn't going to tone it down to get a pilot deal with ABC. Like he's like, no, this is who I am. In today's day and age, Patrice may not work very well because he's not going to kind of cater to what is expected now.
No, I don't think so. But like, I honestly, tough crowd. I watch some of his crowd work is just some of the best I've ever fucked. I love it when a comedian doesn't want an audience there, and that's the thing about Patrice. Like he didn't care if you left because he was so adamant. Like because there's certain people like Bobby Lee hates bombing. A lot of comedians hate bombing, but Patrice was adamant that you have to go out there and bomb and learn how to fucking bomb because you need your work, your material that you're doing. And he's like, as he puts it, you got to be like a scientist in Rome doing little experiments and shit. And that's constantly what he was doing, right? And like he came from the Boston side of things, which like as bad as the rooms are here, I imagine they're fucking worse down there.
Yeah, I mean, in Boston, this documentary about Boston in the '80s, and they said it was like war out there with the crowds, and other comedians. It was like they said it was crazy, and it kind of continued into when he came up in Boston like the '90s. Same exact thing.
That's terrifying. I'm getting anxiety thinking about it. But like you'd want to be fucking stupid if you, and that's why I don't know how it didn't happen for him, right? But if you watched 10 minutes of him on TV, free-forming, like not off script, like again, like Tough Crowd and shit, when he's doing this Subjugate Those Hoes song, like out of nowhere, this stuff it kept on coming. He didn't stop. It was consistently hilariously funny the whole way through. If you could see that and say, I will run a risk at getting cancelled and just put this guy for one season on a show or something, like I'd take that risk.
Well, it'll be almost like Richard Pryor when Richard Pryor got the NBC show, and NBC knew damn well what they were getting.
Oh yeah,
they were aware of who Richard Pryor was, but then still tried to kind of put him in this box. And he's like, no, that ain't working for me, and then he went off. I feel like that happened with Patrice. A network would take a shot at him, would try to kind of marginalize a little bit and go, listen, we got to tone that down a little bit. It was like, fuck you, and then go off and then get canceled after 4 episodes.
He said, like, About, remember the guy Ludacris?
Yeah.
The rapper?
Remember Ludacris the rapper? He's in every Fast and Furious movie in 8 now.
I wouldn't have known him if it wasn't for the time that Patrice was in the interview with him. And he was saying about Ludacris, like, he has a great view of fame and show business. And he's like, you're at the absolute tip of your career when everybody's looking at you, everybody's talking about you. Like, that's when the Hollywood monster has you in their hand and he's eating you and regurgitating you. Mm-hmm. And he said, at least Charlie Sheen and Mel Gibson said fuck you to the Hollywood thing and refused to apologize. And he understood that, right? And he said that I only fuck with a couple of Jews and like one or two white people in the show business. Like, that's who he works with. This is his business. He didn't get over, because he said, like, they start with stupid shit, like giving you tickets, front seat tickets to the basketball games, like where if you stretch out, you're going to trip over one of the basketballers. Like, and he said, and then they take it away. They keep on taking it away, mm-hmm. just so to remind you of, you know. And he just didn't want that. And I can understand that integrity, because that is the thing. Like, everybody over here wants more than they have, and I feel like when you want more than you have, you start living beyond your means, and now you're at the playing into the hands of the people who can pull the rug from underneath you at any minute. Patrice never wanted that to happen, and I can appreciate that integrity. Also, he wanted to stay true to what he was doing. You know, he also never wanted t-shirts, his face on a t-shirt, so that never happened. Mm-hmm. So, like, all of these stages, but to actually get to his actual stand-up, right? A lot of people probably have a problem with it now because there's a lot of misogyny in there, but it's really funny misogyny.
It's like when a friend of mine, I always make jokes about her being Hispanic.
Our mutual friend?
No, different friend. And I'm always like, yeah, I'm like, don't you? I thought he's like, I'm going to shoot you. I'm like, don't your people shank? Don't you guys have like box cutters?
Oh, yeah, Puerto Rican or something like that.
And then I would say, take that sazon out your voice, the spice, and she's like, that's racist. And she's something to me. I'm like, I'm hurt. And she's like, why are you hurt? I'm like, because when you say it, it's racist. When I say it, it's pithy and thoughtful. And I feel like Patrice, same thing, kind of. Patrice saying, like, you know what? I can't take offense to it, what he's saying, because I'm like, I know what he's saying, and he's not coming from a place of hate. He's not coming from a place of being a dick.
It's just a pace of Boston balls.
It's a joke.
It's all a joke.
And you got to be able to take the joke.
Yeah.
Now people can't take jokes. Jokes is not a thing anymore.
He was on Fox, back when Fox was a little less of whatever the fuck it is now.
Less Tucker.
Less Tucker's slack-jawed fucking inbred fucking hairy head. Yeah. His toupee wearing, white ass, dumb shit, a suit that's 6 sizes too big for him show. Yeah. Back when Fox was an actual news channel, and it was O'Reilly, I think it was.
It was O'Reilly.
And Patrice was on it, and they made a rape joke. Like, was it the donkey punch? No, it was the Angry Pirate one, right? And there's a lady giving out about the Angry Pirate. At one point, O'Reilly starts laughing, and Patrice is like, "You can't laugh. She's outraged. Don't you understand? She's outraged." But he made a good point. She was saying rape isn't funny, right? But he made a point of like, who are you as an authority on what's funny? I'm a comedian. I know funny. You're a white lady. What the fuck do you know about funny? You know. So I get it, and I appreciate that. Like, are rape jokes funny? Sometimes they fucking are, let's be honest, right? But, like, is rape funny? No. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. One isn't real, and the other is very real. You know, and people mix up that thing because they think you're somehow belittling them.
But it's also one of those things where, and you said it before, he didn't care if you got up and left.
Oh, no, he didn't give a fuck. He wanted you to.
And I'm of the mind, and this is probably going to be in trouble, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't go. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to it. Ignore it. Go about your fucking day. Like, I feel like he had that mindset of like, listen, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. You may not like it. That's fine. You can fucking leave. Mm-hmm. You don't have to listen to me. Like, one, he's still going to get paid. He's still going to be on the radio once a week or twice a week over on O&A. He's going to still do his thing. He's going to go on tour. At the end of the day, he's like, either turn me off or listen. I don't care either way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people turn him off, which is fine, but a lot more people listen to him and like what he did.
I put it this way, right? That nobody has ever... This is the thing with comedians, right? Is nobody has ever walked into a strip club and said, I don't like pussy, I'm offended, those girls should put their clothes back on. Nobody's like, because you know why you're going in there, right? Mm-hmm. The thing about a comedian is, you might say, oh, who's this Patrice ONeal guy? Maybe he's like Eddie Murphy. You know, or who's this Jim Norton guy? Maybe he's like Robin Williams. And you go in there and then you're like, especially with Norton. You know? I love Norton. I've been watching him all weekend.
Monster Rain.
It was Monster Rain. It was Monster Rain that I was actually watching. But like, you can't do that with comedians. I think that's where that kind of debate comes up of like what's funny and what's not funny is because the wrong people end up at your show, which is unfortunate. But like,
and the wrong people who
write letters
probably know who you are and has heard of you before and probably don't like you to begin with.
Yeah.
And are still gonna fucking go to the show.
Yeah.
And be a fucking asshole about it, even though they know this is what you're gonna talk about, this is who you are, this is what you're gonna do, and you're still gonna go anyway. Which still kills me how people can still go to shows.
Like I'm never going to go see Jerry Seinfeld because I don't care about Airplane Peanuts. I'm just not going to do it. Like
your hatred of Jerry Seinfeld and Sebastian Maniscalco is like
I found out why I hate Maniscalco, right? Because I was having a discourse with someone the other day and they pointed it out that Maniscalco is just a dice baby. The same way that Patton Oswalt is a Marin baby.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see what I'm getting at there.
Yeah,
it's my whole theory's not put together yet, but let me just posit this to you all for a second, right? Take yourself dice, right? Now have someone doing a dice impression. Now also make that person confused. Sebastian Maniscalco.
I feel like this is like a doctorate dissertation you can write about this. And put this all together.
Yeah, what was weird was I came to that conclusion, and then I started looking up, and I was Tiger Belly. Dice is on Tiger Belly, and he said like, Dice was doing his thing, and he said because Dice is never out of character, right? Mm-hmm. He said like in the Comedy Store. When I was there, because he takes 10 minutes between each word, you had Ari, who was just a jealous prick. And then you had Sebastian, who was just doing me, but confused. He even said it. You know?
Your dice is ridiculous. Sorry. It's so fucking bad.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But there is like on the Down and Dirty with Jim Norton, mm-hmm. right? There's a real show of like the following because Dice was a legend in the 80s and stuff like that, and he kind of came back during O&A, mm-hmm. and Patrice was like on the up and up during O&A.
Yeah.
And the Down and Dirty was very hit and miss with some of the acts. Like one of the coolest things was like Lemmy was the MC of it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But like they brought out Anthony Jeselnik. I can't believe I actually got his name right. I never got it right. Whitney Cummings came out. She almost like basically got a fucking boo. This was back before she was Whitney, but she was just like Whitney, you know.
Yeah.
But Dice's set on it was so fucking funny when he's talking about fucking someone now versus fucking someone back then, and he's like, you got to get him in like a half Nelson, and he's like, you got 30 seconds of air, come or fucking die. You know, that was fantastic, and I saved everyone for doing a Dice impression there. But his applause that he got from the beginning and the end, right, and when Patrice walked out, was the exact same volume of like genuine excitement and genuine like, oh my god, like I was even shocked and like, oh, he got Dice to do this, you know, that was kind of amazing to me. But like when Patrice came out, it was the same kind of, oh my god, it's Patrice ONeal, and then immediately came out and. Patrice just started by like fucking like telling the audience to go away. He's just like, listen, stop. I don't like when white people clap and pretend that they're happy to see me. And he's like, let me thank you for taking me out to music I've never heard of before, and just shit like that. Like we just dismiss the whole thing, right? And it just that takes a certain amount of confidence, that self belief, that you can't get anywhere else. And I think that came from, like you said, like that willingness to bomb that you don't really get in a lot of comedians.
No, because it's almost instilled in comedians that you don't want to bomb. Don't bomb. Yeah. When there's a few comedians like, when I bomb, I take that because I want to say, okay, what did I say that got really bad? Like, where did I go?
It's part of the act.
Where did I go? What went wrong? And then how can I make it better? But also, you experienced it. You experienced the bomb.
Yeah, you experienced it. Well, if it's like experiencing rejection with women or men or whatever, right? Like, I know some people who are hot as fuck and then they get rejected and they're like, what? They get angry about it, right? It's like, I could get rejected 19, back in the day, I could get rejected 19 times in a night and like not water duck back, like, because it just means nothing to me. But like the first time you get rejected, it is heartbreaking, but you get fucking used to it, dude, and you don't let it bother you because it's not a part of you.
Yeah, you keep shooting your shot.
Yeah,
no matter what, because eventually after 19, 20 will probably hit.
Yeah, no,
and it'll be 20 at 1:30 in the morning when Journey comes on at the bar.
Oh,
and it's
fuck
like,
yeah! Listen, when Journey comes on at the bar, there's a couple of fucking snail trails. All right, let me tell you, on those bar seats.
And those are the ones you like. That's it right there. Lights are on. Don't know what's going on. I'm going to go after this one.
You fucking drop a hand on them. Your sleeve looks like a 7-year-old just snotted on it.
Back to Patrice. On that note.
Right.
So wait, you said he was in the jail. Explain that.
Okay, so a lot of comedians come out and they talk about. You can kind of put together some of their life, like Pryor is a perfect example, and you kind of laugh at it. Even Eddie Murphy, to an extent, like you can cut like the Wonder Bread burger and stuff like that, right? With Patrice, it was a little bit deeper than that. Like, where did all this misogyny and shit come from, right? And you can listen to O&A and you can hear the full story. And he's kind of like, he had like a theory of like how this shit should work. And like, don't forget, the queen, if you're a queen, you're just the king's bitch, right? So it was just constant stuff. It was funny, but back. And he was in Boston. He was a young man. I'm paraphrasing a lot of this. This is a very long story. He had gotten involved with some young woman. And I think there was like 2 girls involved, but there was like a bunch of dudes. It was like a gangbang type situation. Yeah. And she was related to some position of power, right? And she was like just under the statutory rape age, right? Somebody had found out about it. Somebody talked. Somebody in the group talked. And, of course, her, to protect her dignity, said that it was, like, non-consensual, so on and so forth.
Starts some shit.
So this is where it gets scary. This is where it gets fucking dark, dude, right? He tried to run away initially. I think his mom put him in the trunk and took him somewhere to have, like, a talk with. There was a whole thing about it. But he was being sent down for, I think, 2 years. And his buddy got sent down as well, right? And his buddy was so afraid of getting raped in prison that he just didn't wash himself for 2 years. And it sent him insane. Like, that man lost his mind. And to hear Patrice talk about this is a certain break in character where you're kind of like, I can hear that he's choking back to tears. And he got locked up. And when he got locked up, he went through prison the same way as everybody else does. It wasn't just like a junior fucking prison.
Yeah.
He learned not to take anything from anyone when they say, like, oh, here, I'll give you a pack of cigarettes and, you know, you can pay me back sometime, of what that means. Mm-hmm. That's where his business model came from, was that whatever they give you, they're going to come back for theirs. Mm-hmm. And he did his time, he came out, and then, you know, he started doing his comedy and stuff. Almost all of his routines and his dismissal. When you go through fucking prison, there's a lot of comedians went through that. Joey Diaz, another young black guy. He's a middle-aged black guy, I think, and he's fantastic. And him and Diaz like bounce off really, really well together. He was through prison as well. When you do go through prison, like, bombing's not the worst thing that's going to ever fucking happen.
Really, yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you get a slapping on the face like prison, and you come back out of it on the other end, there's not much worse there's nothing you can't try. You know what I mean? And kind of perfect.
And nothing you can't tolerate.
You know what I mean? With. Like, and also, like, a lot of the problems with certain comedians is they don't have a thick skin. And Patrice had a thick skin, but he'd like just ignore what you said and just come back with something worse, and you're like, fuck.
I should have did that. I should have said that.
So him and Rich Voss was the funniest thing because they go on air together. And then it was just 4 hours of Patrice just making fun of Voss. You know, that Voss has no teeth. Voss is the cringiest fucking comedy ever. And he does. You know, he fucking sucks. You know.
The thoughts and opinions expressed on the one podcast now.
Oh, fuck, I forgot he's still alive. Yeah.
He is.
That sucks.
Well, he's like a MAGA guy, so no one cares about him.
But that sucks, right? Voss, like a notoriously shit comedian, right? Like, his career is based on him sucking, right? And Patrice is dead. You know, it's like, why the fuck?
This is where we get canceled.
No, but like, why?
He should be dead.
No, but if I had to pick one over the fucking other, like, if you could have another fucking Van Halen album or another Hendrix album, which one would you fucking pick? You know what I mean?
David Lee Roth, Van Halen, or
look, let's not
I think we gotta specify.
the shitty Halen, like Jump.
Jump was all what?
It was 80s trash though, compared to like fucking All Along the Watchtower.
Well,
or maybe it's a bad analogy.
Well, there was Doug Stanhope did a bit. I show my wife is like, Kurt Cobain, like, he died so young. Like, what if he was just done? What if he was just out of shit and cashed out? Like, what if Hendrix was alive and doing halftime shows with Elton John and going Rocket Man? Like, yeah, good point actually.
Like Billy Idol is currently doing. He got tear gassed last night. Did you see that?
No, where?
It was on his Instagram story. There was people trying to break into the stadium, and they launched a tear gas. But instead of launching it outside the stadium, they launched it into the stadium. So he got tear gas last night.
It sounds like Brazil. That's what happened in Brazil.
No, this happened in Detroit.
Also, something happened in Detroit, actually, in hindsight.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like when he went up against other kids, not went up against, but when it was like him.
No, but he did.
It turned into verses. It turned into verses.
It turned into fucking.
That was the best. That was the best part. O&A when it's like Opie, Anthony, Patrice, and another person. It's like, oh shit.
Well, in fairness, it was always Opie, Anthony, Jim, Patrice. Jim always knows his place. One thing I love about Jim, he always knows where he fits, and he doesn't try to get higher than that. A lot of people call him a coattail riding fucker. I like Jim because when in the height of O&A. And the suicide guy called in that was going to kill himself. It was Jim talked him off the ledge. Yeah, he does have a caring heart. Like he's a good-hearted guy. He was also very close to Patrice, right? Mm-hmm. But it would be Jim, Patrice, some stripper they brought in, some poor fucking girl who wants to talk about feminism, or just something like that, or someone writing a sex. But they were just. They were like victims getting put in there. Do you remember the Mousetrap episode?
Yes, I do.
Can we do that here? Can we get an intern? I just need you to get the keys over. There's $500 over there. There's 162 mousetraps right here. You just crawl across with a blindfold on. That was fantastic.
Because I was an intern in that exact studio where O&A was at terrestrial radio. And I would hate that shit because that studio was gigantic from one end to the other.
That's true. And then they got... There was like Opie, Anthony, Jim, Patrice, and they used to have that weird girl. What was her name? She was like semi-homeless at one point. Yeah. But they'd ask her, have you ever been fingered? No, Patrice started. Have you ever been fingered? He's like, no. He's like, there's 4 guys in there. He's like, get an intern to finger pop her. And I'm like,
oh my god.
But if you could, when you heard Patrice like rip laughing, like die laughing. And I think I sent you the clip of It's Raining Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like every time I feel like shit, I just listen to It's Raining Stuff. But Patrice going, basically his point was like that men are so afraid of femininity anyway. Like if we sing this song, It's Raining Men, we'll just change the lyrics to make it like not gay. So you're like, it's raining stuff. It's raining things. And it's an off the cut bit, and I'm like, that was probably better than most people have done in an entire fucking career that he done in 5 seconds off the cut. Yeah.
And there's something a lot of his comedy, I felt like, I always had thought, like, did he write this or did he just come with the shit on the spot? Because some of it, like, some of it is written. You can tell when a comedian, it's like rehearsed and like workshopped and like they tried it out in different places. And other times you do it like, wait, did he just come up with that himself? Because I feel like that was way too good to be written on paper in a notebook somewhere. And
it's shit. Like the one about the subway train. He's like, I think he starts with stuff that he's written and ends with maybe. So sometimes but he's like not someone that goes out on a big one. He's just middle of the joke. It's like, all right, I'm done now, bye. Like, it's like most people are like, you start.
Which I feel like that would be the way you would be a comedian. You're just like, yep, see you later. Just walk off stage, like I'm done.
Probably, yeah. I definitely do it wrong. He had one about the train about like. Somebody's out committing suicide in the tracks, and everyone's on the train like, and then they slowly start looking at their watches, and they're like, hurry the fuck up, like the apathy of people, and then that was clearly like wrote, funny, clearly written, I should say, but then go on to like, I don't know how he can find an audience that hated him. I really don't, like, because I've never seen so many people walk out of a show while it's on. And then him comment, he's like, "Oh no, look, there goes another one. Oh, that bitch looks like she's gonna write a letter." I'm just there, like, I love it. Like, I want that because, like, I hate a comedian that wants an audience to like him.
Yeah.
Because they just feel, you just remind me of that little fucking school that wanted everyone to fucking like him, and it just shows like a certain lack of what I'm saying is the truth. Mm-hmm. I like it when people tell the truth on stage of funny shit that happens, right? Because funny shit happens to me all the time, right? I don't like the made up shit because I know it's made up.
Yeah,
you know. That's why I always believe Norton, because like, I feel like with Norton, yeah, that probably happened. I believe it. He looks like the type, you know.
He definitely fucked a transvestite once.
He was dating one for the longest time. Yeah. I think she stole his money. Poor guy. I always want to give him a hug, dude. I feel so bad for him.
I feel bad for you, Jimmy. Come on, little Jimmy Norton. Come here, buddy.
Yeah, little Jimmy, yeah, little worm. But him and Patrice used to go to Brazil to fuck strippers or to fuck prostitutes because it was legal there, and like almost round the clock, like once a year. Him, Voss, but Greg Giraldo would never go. Greg Giraldo was like only one of the people that I kind of seen like get one up on Patrice in like his whole lifestyle and philosophy and shit. Because he did the most important thing that you can ever do to anybody is just belittle what they say. And he was kind of saying, like, you know, like, you keep going down there talking to strippers, and, you know, you have your right, and you fuck all of these girls, and they get in there and you call you, oh, Patrice, you come back, you're riddled in AIDS and shit. Like, do you feel good about yourself? Like, I don't get it. You know, which was, and I was like, it was almost like watching the David and Goliath moment. I was like, what? How could that happen? How could he just? But like, it was just.
You almost compared it to like a rap battle.
Yeah, it was like
Jay-Z versus Nas. Is like, oh shit, he said that. Okay, what was he gonna say next? And Brandon was just like.
I used to love the callers that we used to call it, like, tell Patrice he's an N-word, bleep, you know, whatever. And never reacted the way I think he should have reacted. Like, what the fuck? Right? Mm-hmm. But it was like, all right, explain that. And right here, and then you just hear him hang up, panic on the phone, and then hang up. And I'm like. If we had more Patrices in like news stations and shit, or just people with the, I'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of the confrontation either. That's the other thing. I think that was the most important part of Zach and his comedy in general, was like not afraid to have this completely derail and go somewhere else.
Yeah, like
not even in a space of being afraid to bomb, but in a space to like just go completely off the
and have a difficult conversation.
A lot
in conversations, which I mean, to us may not be difficult, but to men be like, this is a little tough a conversation for a morning show. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's go into it.
But like from the word go, when Kumia would go, fucking Obama. And then you just hear the table being slapped by Patrice. He's like, "Can a motherfucker just get a sandwich? Like, what is your deal? Like, we can't get a little bit back, like, help somebody out." And then, you know, he's screaming back at him, saying, like, "My taxes, the $2 million last year that I paid in taxes, I would rather that go on a rocket over to Syria than end up in some hands of some beep, 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 beep." And, you know, it was weird because you kind of realize how much, as fundamentally as a human being you are, that you're just kind of hovering politically in the middle, because you don't always agree with everything Patrice says. You definitely, I personally don't like agree with what Anthony says, but like there's a certain part of like what Anthony's saying is like, well, you're right, like the tax credit that you would have to, like, you are kind of getting screwed here, right? But at the same time, like, these people are fucking starving, and you take any more money off me, I'm going to be broke, but you're a millionaire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you earn that money,
and you're not really paying what you really should be paying in taxes.
Yeah.
You're paying a lot less than what you would be paying normally.
Exactly.
So you're complaining about a situation where it's like you're only paying like 15% when you should be paying like 32%. And you have there's loopholes and LLCs and all the other shit that you're using to fucking funnel some money around.
Yeah. And it was, Pat Cooper was on the next day when that same conversation came up. And it was about some baseball. I found a loophole to get like $5 million or something like that. Yeah. And, you know, Pat Cooper was, and Kumia said, "I'm happy he got it. I'm happy for that guy. You know, he worked hard for the money." And Pat Cooper was like, "You know, Anthony, I really appreciate it. I always respect you for that. You always said like exactly what you said, even when you're totally fucking wrong. Give that to a fucking teacher in this country who are underpaid. You know, anybody but like someone who hits balls with bats." He was talking about the sport and stuff and how lame it is, but like, it was that kind of radio. And you know, if no matter what way you look at Patrice's career, like his specials were a tiny part of it, because I feel like the specials they're really good, But like, it's not the best of Patrice. Like the best of Patrice is on
radio.
Radio, tough crowd.
Which you almost like. I mean, radio's dead now, so we can't talk about. Could he have worked today in radio because radio's dying?
But he had the podcast. It was Black Phillip podcast, which.
But that was even for podcasts or like podcasts.
Yeah,
that was before like, I got big and like there was money in a podcast.
Yeah.
Patrice could have like him and like an assortment of other people.
If he was
get a morning show somewhere, run a drive time radio show. No, could that worked? Or did it work with him just coming in every so often and just saying and just doing his shit?
You know what? As mad as with everything that happened with Anthony, how he got off Sirius and stuff like that, and he's been quite a controversial figure. For a lot of reasons, some more nefarious than others. Still a funny guy. I don't care how racist he is. If it's funny, right? But I could honestly still see Patrice, if he was alive today, being on every other day on the show. Like, even though he knows, like, you're on the show that the clan are watching right now.
Yeah.
I can still see him being on it, and I can see him being on Norton's show, like Sam and Norton, Sam and Jim and Sam or whatever. Who was the fucking intern once upon a time, which is so weird. But and then him just doing his podcast like at a style like what the massively less talented Bert Kreschner does.
God damn, you really had to dig. You really had to go at Bert Kreschner.
Every fucking episode, I'm gonna go after Bert Kreschner.
You're gonna somehow intertwine him into like how much you hate him and he sucks.
I'll always say it, like, because like, you know what? There's kind of, this is like off topic, but like I kind of need to. This is the place to say it. There is a West Coast comedy mafia clique, right? Which is like Bert, Tom Segura, Rogan, kind of Bobby Lee, but I feel like he's kind of in and he's out.
I feel like he's like
Bobby just doesn't
in and out. And like,
Bobby doesn't even have a special. Yeah. Like at this point, like I don't know what the fuck Bobby. I know he's going through some tough times because Kalila broke up with him, but they're still fucking living together.
Fucking awkward.
You know when we do Bobby Lee episode, let's talk about that fucking mess. So it's like Tom Segura, and they're all helping each other out. And they're all on each other's podcasts, right? Here's the fucking problem with it, right? Like especially Segura's podcast, Your Mom's House, and now his wife is in it as well. Like, look, good for you. Like I'm not going to tell you how to podcast, but you're all in a fucking vacuum. You're not really being challenged like you would be on radio when it used to be on O&A, when you'd have Rogan would be on the phone, Louis C.K. would be in there, Patrice is in there making funny Louis, and and everybody's like fighting for this space. You're not fighting anything. You're just having a podcast for your fans, and then you have your audience.
And your friends.
Right? But like, why are you... It's funny, though, that just none of them talk to D'Elia anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean, the whole...
Right, no, but here's the thing, is like, right, that controversy came out, and then everybody just backed away. Why? Right? Because the obvious reason is because you don't want to be associated. You don't want to be associated with it, right? But here's the other side of it, right? He's still a comedian. He had your show, especially Fighter and the Kid, because Fighter and the Kid was shit, right? Still is shit. He really helped that one out, and everybody just like backed away from him and said, just completely denied everything. Poor Theo Vaughn's caught in the middle of this mafia. He doesn't even know he's part of it. But then you go over on the East Coast here, and it's still radio. Like, it's still, like, people still go on serious to talk to Sam and Jim. And there's less of that clanniness, right? Now, here's the other question I want to ask you, right? Bert is allowed in there because they let Bert be part of this group.
Yeah.
Bert isn't a quarter funny as what Tom Segura is. Rogan's not funny at all. It never has been.
No.
He was good at knocking people out. So even in his comedy career, he's been putting people to sleep, which is great. Joey Diaz is a funny fucker, but he's right here in Jersey. He came home, right? Yeah. He knew what was up. He knew what was up. And
but Joey Diaz has that Patrice spirit.
Also in a prison. Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he's got that spirit. Like, almost like the one bit I'd love, I always play it for my boys. I'm like, you need two or three motherfuckers that's gonna go to war with you. That's it. I'm like, that's it. That's that guy. I'm like, I want to be. And I have a friend of mine I used to work with whose uncle went to school with Joey Diaz. So whenever he has a show, he goes see Joey Diaz and he like hangs out with Joey Diaz.
Oh, can we get Joey Diaz on?
I'll look into that.
I'll talk to him.
I don't want to talk to that friend anymore.
Oh, right.
I can get back in now. I'll figure it out.
Find his agent.
Find his agent?
Yeah.
Yes, I will do that. But hey, you don't know me.
That's how this shit works, right?
You don't know me, I don't know you, but we'll have to talk to Joey.
I know, we just turn up his fucking house. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do. But, yeah, Joey has a lot of... And I feel like that's why he's separated from them, that group. Because Segura, Bert Kreischer, Theo Von... Now, Theo has his own thing, but with him it's a lot of linguistics. And I've started to appreciate it over the years. Bobby Lee, like, they're all kind of the same genre of comedy, right? They're not different. What Diaz does is dark as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like putting, if their brand of comedy is Scream, then Diaz is like the movie Jacob's Ladder, like, or Antichrist or something. You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
It's just not the same fucking thing, right? But, like, so the point about Bert Kreischer, just of him sucking, really, is like these people kind of control the comedy game over there because they have the most GDP, to put for lack of a better word. So they decide who's on and who's off. I personally feel that way. I don't think they're bad people, but I think they might be even inadvertently doing it and not realizing it. While they like Bert. They want to help Bert. The same way
I'm gonna help Bert.
These idiots wanted to help Brendan Schwab get a fucking Netflix special.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Stop fucking liking my photos on Instagram, you creep.
This is completely gone off this is gone into grievance podcast territory now. Moving from praising Patrice ONeal to like, I got a bone to pick with Brandon Schaub.
No, I went on my Instagram one day, and it's like my personal Instagram. It's none of my business Instagrams or my podcast. Brendan Schwab keeps on liking my photographs, and it's like blue tick Brendan Schwab. It's Brendan Schwab. It's not someone impersonating him. Is it his like CNET thing that he's like he thinks I'm somebody else or some shit? Or maybe he just seen hashtag comedy, and maybe he's trying to get in this job. His career is in such a shitter.
You could probably get him.
I mean.
Would you want to give in?
After this? Probably not.
Yeah.
He's probably going to knock my teeth out. But
probably. But it'd be funny.
I would not be able to not talk about the elephant in the room. It's like, you probably had a better chance in the major leagues of the UFC than you did on that stage, man. Poor guy.
Poor Jesus Christ. How do we get here?
We're talking about Patrice and like genuine funny versus like this kind of faux accepted funny that is like that West Coast comedy mafia. That's a bit of a.
Well, I also feel like Patrice is from the East Coast, so
we're a little bit harsher.
It's a lot more real here.
Yeah.
You're East Coast guy now.
Yeah, I'm East Coast.
A lot more real, a lot more to the point, a lot more direct.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of bullshit.
No.
We're on the West Coast. It's full of shit. Mm-hmm. It's all shit. And you see
shit.
it. And I feel like Patrice didn't really fuck with the West Coast very much.
No, he didn't. But when he went out there, it was funny. Like he just kind of went out there and just like lived in their friend's house. Like remember Kevin Hart caught him jerking off in his house, and then Patrice turned to him. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you doing?" And like he was jerking off in his house on his computer. But Kevin Hart was like, "Oh, sorry," left his own house.
It's funny we talk about this today because something came up on my Facebook reels. It's like Kevin Hart was talking about Patrice ONeal. It's like I would say something, Patrice just go, ugh.
Oh yeah.
And like, what? I just hate how you speak. I just hate how it sounds coming out of your mouth.
That was like one of the things that I used to fucking love about because. Again, the way we say, like, Diaz is kind of a cut off the block. Like, Diaz has a heart. Mm-hmm. Patrice just, he could, if he cut your throat, like, that was, but you know what? You know why?
The noise that Kevin Hart made, I've heard that before. I've heard the, ugh. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I know that noise.
I've heard him do it when, like, Voss would make a joke, and he's like, ugh. He's like, really? You got up and got in your car this morning to come in with that stupid joke? Like, you fucking nothing. And that has become my new favourite insult to people I meet on the street, like, who ask me for cigarettes and stuff, and I go, ugh, you fucking nothing. You know, but it was like, you know where that comes from, though? Is, like, the guy who found Patrice. Well, not found him, but, like, almost like a quote-unquote mentor type.
Yeah.
Whereas an Irish guy who doesn't do well with emotions, like myself, is Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn kind of parented them in the most horrible yeah, but likes to remind people that they're fucking nothing. But then Patrice would, like, for someone who's like Patrice did see as like his superior, you know, would still say, "You dribbly mouthed like fucking idiot! You can't even speak properly. You nothing." This guy's got more, as I said at the start of the show, he's got more dead pilots than American Airlines. It's like fantastic. It's just so good. Like, actually, Quinn and Patrice just at each other. Fucking, it's amazing. That's like, I could listen to that all day.
Tough Crowd, I have vague memories of Tough Crowd.
You gotta watch it again.
It was like Wednesday night at 10, and I'm like, I think I was in high school, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta watch this. Wait, what am I doing? I got shit to do.
I was
doing homework at 10 o'clock at night on Wednesdays.
That you gotta go give it another go, because I think you kind of forget how comedy was in like just post 9/11. It was like it was a more rapturous affair than what it kind of is now. It's kind of a little bit more low key.
Well, I feel like after 9/11, I think that's when Comedy Central's like, all right, people need funny.
Yeah.
And that's when Tough Crowd came on, and like a lot of these other weird shows and random, because Comedy Central really doesn't any stand up things anymore. It's literally like
South Park.
Saw fucking Scrubs.
What? Is Scrubs on that?
It was. It's on IFC. I don't fucking know. But they don't do any stand up. Like, they just don't stand up on Comedy Central anymore. It's fucking weird how they do it. But I feel like the heyday was Patrice, and like that's when he was on there a lot. That was like early 2000s.
He was on
mids.
He only kind of had small parts in the Chappelle Show. He was like the big pimp.
Oh, Buck Nasty. Buck Nasty the pimp. With
the mustache.
Buck Nasty. The same thing for you can be said about the war in Iraq. You look bombed out.
And his whole line in that whole thing was like, that was it.
Yeah, I think was that the only thing he did in the Chappelle Show?
I don't remember.
I think Players Ball, I think that was the only thing he ever did. But that was also one of the top 5 funniest sketches on the Chappelle Show of all time. So, like, you were on there a lot, but you were on the best fucking sketch probably of all time.
He was on one of the best sketches because, honestly, it's Rick James bitch with Charlie Murphy is the funniest shit I think Chappelle's ever done. Like, I still think that is hilarious.
That was my one until he did Prince.
Why?
And Charlie Murphy.
Prince and Charlie Murphy.
That became like, wait, what's one now? Is it Rick James or is it Prince? Because I'm confused because Rick James was the first one, and that was really good because I'm like, oh shit, he took the whole episode. And then Prince story was like, what the fuck? He's like,
the Prince story was kind of stupid, but the Rick James one was just amazing when he punched him in the head. He's like, "Brother Darkness,"
darkness,
and I was like, this is some black shit I don't understand. Why is he called Darkness? And I fucking love Rick James. I don't care who he shagged. His Super Freak is an absolute, as we call it nowadays, a banger, right? But it is
using that slang.
Yeah, it's a classic fucking.
You've been in America too long.
I keep seeing it on Instagram. And I'm like, a banger. That
song is Flames, Fire.
That I don't understand. But like a banger in Ireland is a shitty car.
Well, it's just a piece of shit here. It's POS.
All right, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was amazing, like the Brother Darkness stuff. So fucking good. I thought it was like, what? Like, none of this makes sense. And I was like, none of this is true, right? And it's like, oh no, this happened.
It's true.
This fucking happened.
No, it really happened.
And then Charlie Murphy's telling, like, it's a genius composition of Charlie Murphy telling this story, Rick James telling his side of the story, and then a reenactment of it with, like, a young Charlie Murphy played by an old Charlie Murphy.
And Dave Chappelle playing Rick James.
Rick James.
And a Rick James that, honestly, I believe that was really Rick James back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I believe he just punched people in the face like, fuck it, I don't care.
Give him the stickiest of the icky. Oh, man, I miss Rick James.
The milk's gone bad. Show Rick James your titties.
Yeah, like, that's amazing.
Like, I think he went to jail for that shit, for imprisonment. No, some chick, so.
You know what? It was just a bit of confusion. It was what was like, just Republican senators that justify rape, like just boys having fun, but unless they're black, in which case it was rape.
Yeah. A black man. I think what's his girlfriend, white or what?
Who?
Rick James and his girlfriend at the time went to jail for false imprisonment of a female.
Oh, I didn't know.
But I'm not sure if the girlfriend was white or black. I can't remember. I think she was black. I gotta look this up. There's a whole documentary about Rick James. Anywho, we won't talk again.
Let's talk about the one last thing I think there is to talk about.
Yeah.
The documentary.
Which I haven't seen yet.
I haven't seen it either. So you know what? We might do a bonus episode after we watch it. But I don't think there's anything that I don't already know in there. And
but
they kind of picked and chose.
Yeah, I think that was the issue with it, because I feel like you have documentaries that aren't, I don't say not truthful, but it's real selective in what they discuss, and it's real selective in what they talk about, selective on who they bring in to talk to about the person, and selective about where they go with the documentary. I think that's the issue. I think the issue is like you didn't get everybody who should have been in it. You didn't talk about what you should have talked about.
I can understand why they didn't touch Anthony for everything that went on, but I feel like that was you should have just taken an L on it and went to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
I know Opie's on it, but I don't give a fuck what he said. I don't think anybody does. No. I feel like without Anthony, it's not that there's no Patrice, but that modern personality of what we know Patrice as just isn't there.
You need Anthony to kind of fill in, give some color to like Patrice a little bit.
Yeah, color being the operative word here, you know. But like definitely, and so the other thing is like how did he die? He had diabetes. Mm-hmm. It was like not long after the Charlie Sheen roast. Yeah, because he was starting to blow up. Like, he was starting to get big after, because everybody seen what Patrice could do after that roast. Because when that Charlie Sheen shit went down, oh my god, that guy was everywhere. Then he got AIDS. But
he's healed apparently.
I know, like AIDS isn't really a thing anymore.
Is it though?
It's a thing, but like it's not like a death sentence anymore.
You can live with it completely.
No, you can completely. Live with
it. HIV is one of those things. I'm like, wait, it's like I took this medicine, I'm cured. Yeah. I'm like, I see that shit during the day. I'm like, wow.
But you can take like, I think it's called PrEP, where you don't give it to anybody else, or you don't get it.
Yeah.
So you can just completely live with it. So you basically have a fucking permanent head cold. Like, I don't know. But after that, because Charlie was like, after 2.5 Men thing, he was just everywhere. So everybody could see what the fuck this guy could do. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that, he had some complications. He got like a stroke and ended up in a coma. And he passed away in his hospital bed. And they actually, thankfully enough, little Jimmy Norton has a head and his shoulders, because he got the call, as I remember listening to the episode, it's still on YouTube, he got the call that had happened while they were interviewing someone, and you can see Jim, Opie, and Anthony. You can, like, he's after going out taking a call outside the studio. Jim comes back in. He's not going to tell anyone until after the show is over. Yeah. And they're interviewing some poor fucker who picked the wrong day to come in there, because you can just hear this. Because nobody said it yet, but now they all know. And this other guy is just rambling off in the background.
And it's this deadness.
This deadness of like, Voss the next day called in, and then they did a whole lot of like just Patrice for like 24 hours or stuff like that. And I remember hearing it, because I think I was like just in college at the time, or I'd just come out of college, one or the other. And I was being like, fuck, I want to see it. It was one of the few comedians I was like, I actually want to see this guy. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to see that guy, and I really wanted to watch his career like go other places. And I do think today, if you had like an East Coast version of that West Coast comedy Mafia, it would have been Patrice. Yeah. Probably Colin Quinn too. Mm-hmm. Norton, definitely. Probably Anthony as well. Like he probably would have been on it. And a lot of other names. Maybe Burr is kind of West Coast now, but like Burr probably definitely would have been.
Yeah, but they're East Coast and not dicks.
We're not dicks, yeah. So
that's the difference.
Yeah, Louis.
They would let people in. Louis would be questionable because of what went on with him.
Oh come on, that's fucking funny. And of all the Me Too shit, right? She said it changed her fucking career, like her career prospects after, right? Because she turned around and Louis was jacking off, right? Have you ever been to New York subway? Like, how frail are you? Like, you turn around, you walk away, and you report it and say, Louis, don't be jerking off on me. It's not okay, right? But like, it's not. You didn't Harvey Weinstein him. I'm not saying what he did is right.
I was waiting for that.
Sorry, I probably should have started.
I'm waiting for the condemnation.
Sorry. What he did was incredibly wrong. He should not have done it, right? But then again, just go on the subway to like where, like Bronx, anywhere, subway. Anywhere, you're going to find somebody probably jerking off.
I haven't encountered that actually.
Really?
No.
4 times.
In the time you've been here?
Not in the time I've been here.
I almost said she's creeping like a year.
On the way over here.
On the flight to New York.
Yeah. No, 4 times, 3 of which was in Ireland. At bus stops. For some reason, homeless people in Ireland love jerking off on bus stops.
Because they're covered.
That's what I thought it was. It's like, I mean, if you've nowhere to go, where else are you going to jerk off?
Yeah.
But maybe a public bathroom or something, privacy. And then once in the Uptown.
Not Midtown.
Midtown.
Yeah, there's a lot of hobos in Midtown.
Yeah, no, it was like during the first time I was here. I think the little park. Sorry, the park by Flatiron.
I That's a lot, yeah. There's a lot of hobos in the Flatiron District.
Yeah. I was there the other day, like, it's really after coming up since when I was there in, like, 2017 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't look like you jerk off there, but, like, you know what? If I feel bad for the girl, I do, but, like, at the same time, expectations on. Like, these things...
You called her hun! No!
Why? What's wrong with hun?
Expectations hun.
I don't know her name.
You could have said miss.
No, that sounds worse. Expectations miss.
You called her hun.
All right, well, just bleep that bit.
You also beat your ass at the same time by saying it. Mad Men? What the fuck's happening?
It's an Irish thing.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, like, you think that these rumors around Hollywood, like Earl Flynn, like, they call it, it's long indebted in there. You know what you're up against.
Yeah.
You know? And thank God for Me Too, and that doesn't have to happen anymore.
The views and opinions of Tom expressed does not reflect the views and opinions of the One Podcast Network or its affiliates. Put that out there. But, you know, if on your list of comedians, you say greatest, so he's number one no matter what.
Because I think he takes the greatest parts of all the comedians I like. Maron, love Maron. Even Louis to an extent, Dice, even Hicks to a certain extent. There's a little bit of it in there.
A little bit, yeah.
There's a little bit of it in there. Even Norton, the things I love about Norton, I feel like Patrice could be as grotesque as Norton. He can do the crowd work the same way that, like, Dice can. He can come out there like what Dice does. And, like, you gotta give it to Dice. Like, he's just completely committed to a character.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, to come out and just have, like, no real act, just find a member of the audience and just harass the shit out of him. And, like, he like Dice has often said, like, if it wasn't for the fact I'm me, I wouldn't come to see me, because I'm the only person that people come to see and they go home feeling worse. You know? And Patrice used to do the same fucking shit. Like, just find someone in the audience and fuck with them. Like, that's a really even, like, horizoned way of the comedian in you. Like,
and I would honestly, and as someone who has been heckled at by Chuck Nice, who called me Little Patrice O'Neal, I was like, what the fuck?
Didn't you meet Patrice in Sirius?
No. So, I was interning at a radio station in the city. The station that Opie and Anthony were doing before, well, they did it in the morning, and then he walked to the Sirius station.
I remember that, the walkover. Yeah,
I missed Patrice by like 2 minutes because I was making copies. I was an intern, and I was like aiming. I'm like, oh, the show's over. All right, cool. I think I catch him at the entrance, and the copy machine was right near the entrance. I was like, all right, cool. And I got fucked up with a copy, and they're like, did they leave? Like, yeah, they just walked out. I'm like, fuck, I can't chase them down the elevator.
I would have went after.
I couldn't do that.
That walkover, actually, a good example for anyone that wants to learn something from, like, comedy. Listen to that walkover, and just listen to all those walkovers, because those walkovers were like the kind of steeled confidence that I think you kind of need in this business, where you're committing to something because you do not know who's walking against you, especially on fucking New York Street. Yeah. You know,
and literally you're walking 8 blocks.
You
walk from 57th to 49th, give or take.
Walk 8 blocks in your head. No.
It's New York blocks, so they're doubly long.
Fucking, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning?
10.
10. So everyone's on their break, right? If you really want, like, an exercise to be a comedian, walk 8 blocks and do your set to people in your head that you're looking at. Do it to them. And that's what they actually did, right? Patrice was amazing at it, because it's just whoever was walking, you're just walking to get a sandwich, and all of a sudden Patrice has just trimmed you down to nothing.
You're like, I don't want this sandwich now.
Yeah, you'd feel horrible, like the Dice thing, you know what I mean? You go home feeling worse.
Well, I missed them, and then I think the internship they had, the show I worked on, had up-and-coming comedians come in, and me and other people had to heckle them their routine, like 3 minutes. So the thing was, okay, you have this new comedian, you guys are gonna fuck with them.
Okay.
So that's what we did. We were just yelling at them, saying, fuck that, oh, you suck, blah, 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 shitty joke, blah, blah, blah. And then Chuck Nice, who is a comedian as well, walked in, and he started roasting us.
Oh.
And he got to me, he's like, look, this little Patrice O'Neal fucker over here. I'm like, that's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten.
I was going to say, like, I know what Patrice ONeal is. I know who the fuck Chuck Nice is.
He's a smaller comedian. He had a radio show
like
on
physically.
No, not so. Like in not stature. I can't say stature because that means physical, but he wasn't as big as Patrice. Put it that way. He did like a lot of radio shows. He does commercials, shit like that. So I knew of Chuck Nice, and he did a lot of VH1 like things that they had like the remember the '90s. Here's Chuck Nice.
Remember what was it? Web Junk.
Yes,
that was way ahead of its time.
He might have been on Web Junk, I think.
Chuck Nice.
Yeah.
I remember it was like Patrice started it, and it was just all this shit that people found on the internet, like videos, was saying, and he'd like critique it or whatever, and he went through it, and he was the first. I think it was like the first of that. Now, that's a really common thing now. That has like almost had like an inception of itself, because it used to be weird videos you found on YouTube would end up on TV, and then weird videos you find on YouTube end up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Or on Ridiculousness with Rob Dyrdek.
Who?
You don't watch TV, do you?
I don't. I haven't watched TV since I got here.
We'll get into that. All right, we're gonna end this here.
Yeah, I could talk for another 6
hours.
hours.
You about Patrice. I know you were hyped to do the show.
I came over listening to the Rocky IV soundtrack, and I literally texted you, and I was like,
"Hearts on fire."
It was War, Vince DiCola, and I was like, I even texted you. I was like, "Get fucking hype! Don't bring your fucking radio personality. Bring your erection stuff or whatever."
My erection stuff?
I didn't say erect shit.
My erection?
But bring your erection too, I guess. Whatever, man.
Let's go. I'm a wreck shoot my erection. Let's go.
Wreck shit. Just start swinging around, knocking bottles off and stuff.
Our next episode, I don't know who we're talking about next. Are we gonna go Amy Schumer next time? Are we gonna go there?
You know what? If you want to.
Okay, no wait, because I think I had Bill Cosby, you had Patrice, we had Gerard Carmichael in the middle.
Yeah.
I think we have to do one
that neither of us like.
That you hate.
Oh, Sebastian?
Yes.
I just gave my fucking snap.
No, we need more.
All right, fine.
You got more in you, I think.
Is that the next? Because I'm just going to go off like for.
That's going to be the next one.
We need somebody who actually likes Sebastian to sit in and like defend him. Wait, do you like him?
He's tolerable. He has a couple good jokes about people popping in and shit like that. Like a few of those jokes kind of hit.
That joke that's been recycled for the last like fucking 10 years or whatever, right? But like for the sheer fact you would call a comedian tolerable, like he's tolerable.
Like if a Sebastian Maniscalco clip comes on my Facebook feed, I'll stop and watch it. Like I don't want to, but it's like, I'll watch it.
I do sometimes because I want to laugh, and also I want to see what the fuck he's doing. And I'm like, he really sold out the Garden, like
2 nights.
2 nights in the Garden, completely seats booked. Wow, diced on an 89.
I think he's done that twice.
Diced on an 89, the first time I ever remember that. First comedian to do it.
On that note,
he is a baby dice.
On that note, for Tom, I'm KT. We'll see you in the next edition of Live Free Laugh Hard.
He's a die.
He's a die. I gotta stop this. How do I stop this tape?